You've been living a lie your entire life. Every choice you think you are making, every decision that feels completely yours, it is all an elaborate illusion. But here is the twist. Understanding this deception might actually be the key to becoming truly free. What if I told you there was a philosopher who got kicked out of his own family, banned from his community, and essentially erased from society, all because he discovered something so dangerous about human nature that it threatened the very foundations of how we see ourselves? His name was Baruch Spinoza, and what he uncovered 400 years ago is more relevant today than ever. Picture this: Amsterdam, 1632. A young Jewish boy grows up in a tight-knit community, following all the rules, studying all the right texts. He is brilliant, taught everyone can see that, but as he gets older, something starts gnawing at him. The stories don't add up, the explanations feel hollow, and by the time he turns 23, he is asking questions so fundamental, so earth-shattering, that his own family disowns him. But here is where it gets fascinating. Instead of backing down, Spinoza doubles down. He decides to rebuild everything from scratch: Subin religion, morality, even the nature of reality itself. And what he discovers will blow your mind. Let me ask you something. When you made the decision to watch this video, did you really choose to do that? Maybe you were scrolling through your feed. Maybe the thumbnail caught your eye. Maybe you are interested in philosophy. But what made you interested in philosophy? Your education, your personality, and what shaped your personality? Your genetics, your upbringing, your experiences. You see where this is going? Spinoza realized that if you trace back any decision far enough, you'll find an endless chain of causes that stretches back to the beginning of time. Every thought, every feeling, every choice. It is all the result of forces completely beyond your control. Now, most people hear this and think it is depressing. If we don't have free will, then what is the point of anything? Why try to be good? Why make any effort at all? But Spinoza saw something completely different. He saw liberation. Here is his radical insight. The universe isn't some chaotic mess of random events. It is a perfectly ordered system, operating according to unchanging laws. And here is the kicker, Fendi. You are not separate from this system. You are the system. Every atom in your body, every electrical impulse in your brain, every emotion you feel, it is all part of one infinite, interconnected web of existence. Spinoza had a name for this web. He called it God. But this isn't the God you learned about in Sunday school. This God doesn't have a beard, doesn't make special plans for humanity, doesn't get angry or jealous. This God is simply the totality of everything that exists. The laws of physics, the movement of planets, the growth of plants. Your thoughts right now as you listen to this. It is all one substance, expressing itself in infinite ways. Einstein understood this. When someone asked him if he believed in God, he said, "I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of what exists." This isn't about faith, it is about recognizing the incredible complexity and beauty of the natural world we're embedded in. But here is where Spinoza's philosophy gets really practical. If everything is connected, if everything follows natural laws, then you can study these patterns. You can understand them, and once you understand how things work, you can work with them instead of against them. Think about your emotions for a moment. When you get angry, what is really happening? Your brain is responding to some stimulus. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic. Maybe you received a harsh email. That stimulus triggers a cascade of neurochemical reactions. Your heart rate increases. Stress hormones flood your system. Your thinking becomes narrow and reactive. Now, traditionally, you might think you have two choices: express the anger or suppress it. But Spinoza offers a third option: understand it. When you truly comprehend that your anger is just a natural response to specific conditions, something magical happens. The anger loses its grip on you. You are not fighting against your nature, you are understanding it. You are not trying to be someone you are not, Stuvi. You are becoming clear about who you are. And in that clarity, you find a different kind of freedom. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine you are stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. Your old response might be to get frustrated, honk your horn, maybe even yell at other drivers. But with Spinoza's perspective, you recognize the traffic exists, your lateness exists, your stress response exists. All according to natural laws. Getting angry won't change the traffic. It will only add unnecessary suffering to an already challenging situation. Instead, you might use the time to prepare mentally for your meeting, listen to something educational, or simply practice being present. You are not denying your situation, fears, you are responding to it wisely. That is what Spinoza called freedom, acting from understanding rather than reacting from ignorance. This applies to everything. Your relationships, your career choices, even your deepest fears and desires. When you stop trying to force reality to be different and start understanding how it actually works, you discover an incredible power. Not the power to control everything, thetis, impossible this, but the power to respond skillfully to whatever arises. Spinoza called this seeing life under the aspect of eternity. It means stepping back from your limited, personal perspective and seeing the bigger picture. Yes, you are going through a difficult breakup, but heartbreak is part of the human experience. Yes, you are struggling with your career, but everyone navigates uncertainty. Yes, you are aging and will eventually die, but that is the natural cycle of existence. This isn't about becoming indifferent or detached. It is about gaining perspective. When you zoom out far enough, you realize that your problems, while real and important to you, are also temporary ripples in an infinite ocean. This doesn't make them less significant. Fundy, it makes them manageable. Here is what is really revolutionary about this approach. It works with your biology instead of against it. Your brain is constantly trying to predict and control your environment. That is its job. But when you accept that control is largely an illusion, your nervous system can relax. You stop wasting energy on impossible tasks and start directing it toward what you can actually influence. What can you influence? Your responses, your choices in the present moment, your willingness to learn and grow, your capacity for understanding and compassion. These aren't small things, I&D. They're everything. Now, I know what you are thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually live this way? How do you maintain this perspective when you are dealing with real problems, real pain, real challenges? Spinoza would say it is a practice. Like building physical strength, developing this kind of mental clarity takes time and repetition. You start by paying attention to your automatic reactions. When something triggers you, pause and ask, what is really happening here? What forces are at play? How can I respond from understanding rather than react from emotion? You study the patterns in your own life. What situations consistently stress you out? What kinds of people push your buttons? What fears keep recurring? Instead of judging these patterns, you investigate them. You become a scientist of your own experience. You also expand your perspective regularly. Read about history, science, philosophy. Travel if you can, or at least expose yourself to different viewpoints online. The goal isn't to become an expert in everything, foodie. It is to remind yourself that your personal drama is part of a much larger story. Most importantly, you practice what Spinoza called active joy. This isn't the temporary pleasure you get from getting what you want. It is the deeper satisfaction that comes from understanding your place in the cosmos and acting in harmony with your true nature. But let's be honest about the challenges. Spinoza's philosophy raises some tough questions. If everything is determined by prior causes, can we really claim credit for our achievements? If someone commits a terrible crime, are they truly responsible? If our capacity to understand these ideas is itself determined by forces beyond our control, what does that say about free will? These aren't easy questions, and Spinoza doesn't provide simple answers. But he does offer a framework for thinking about them more clearly. He suggests that responsibility isn't about absolute free will, it is about the capacity to respond thoughtfully, rather than react blindly. Some people have developed this capacity more than others, often due to factors beyond their control. But developing it remains worthwhile, both for individuals and society. The practical implications are enormous. In education, we might focus less on punishment and more on understanding what conditions help people develop wisdom and self-control. In relationships, we might approach conflicts with curiosity rather than blame. In our personal lives, we might treat our failures with compassion while still working to improve. Here is what is really exciting. Modern neuroscience is confirming many of Spinoza's insights. We now know that consciousness often follows action rather than preceding it. We understand how deeply interconnected all life is, how our thoughts and emotions are shaped by countless biological and environmental factors we don't control. But we're also discovering the brain's incredible capacity for change. Meditation, therapy, education, even simple practices like gratitude can literally rewire our neural pathways. We can't choose our starting point, but we can influence our direction. That is a very Spinozan idea. The ultimate goal isn't to become some kind of emotionless robot. It is to become more fully human, to experience the full range of human emotions, while not being enslaved by them, to engage passionately with life while maintaining perspective, to care deeply about outcomes while accepting what you cannot control. Spinoza lived this philosophy. Despite being rejected by his community, he continued his work with remarkable equanimity. He supported himself by grinding lenses, fitting metaphor for someone dedicated to helping others see more clearly. He never married, never had children, lived simply, and died young. But his ideas outlasted him by centuries and continue to influence how we think about mind, nature, and human potential. In our current moment, with so much uncertainty and division in the world, Spinoza's vision feels particularly relevant. We're all connected, all part of the same unfolding story, all subject to the same natural laws. Our differences are real but temporary. Our conflicts are often based on misunderstanding rather than genuine incompatibility. What if we approached politics this way? Instead of demonizing people who disagree with us, we might try to understand the forces that shaped their perspectives. Instead of trying to control outcomes we can't influence, we might focus on contributing positively to the conversation. What if we approached our careers this way? Instead of constantly worrying about things beyond our control, we might focus on developing our skills, building meaningful relationships, and doing work that aligns with our values. What if we approached our relationships this way? Instead of trying to change other people, we might work on understanding them. Instead of taking everything personally, we might recognize that everyone is dealing with their own complex web of influences. The freedom Spinoza offers isn't the freedom to do whatever you want. It is the freedom to understand what you are, to work with your nature rather than against it, and to find joy and meaning within the constraints of reality rather than in spite of them. This is why Spinoza's philosophy has been called both the most rational and the most mystical. It is rational because it is based on careful observation and logical thinking. It is mystical because it reveals the profound interconnectedness and beauty of existence. You are not separate from the universe, TY. You are the universe becoming conscious of itself. Every insight you have, every moment of compassion, every creative act, is the cosmos expressing its own infinite potential through your particular form. That is not a metaphor. It is literally true, according to Spinoza's system. So the next time you find yourself struggling with a decision, caught in an emotional reaction, or feeling overwhelmed by circumstances beyond your control, remember Spinoza's insight. You are part of an incredible, ongoing creative process. Your job isn't to control it, Fenty. It is to understand it, participate in it consciously, and find your unique way of contributing to its unfolding. That is true freedom. That is genuine power, and that is the radical truth that got one man kicked out of his community, but changed the course of human thought forever. The universe is not happening to you, for it is happening as you. And once you truly understand that, everything changes.